Silence is often misunderstood because the world has taught you that power belongs to the loudest voice in the room. But real strength has never been about noise. Silence is the moment when you choose awareness over impulse, control over chaos, and wisdom over reaction. When you stay silent, you are not surrendering, you are observing. You are giving yourself the space to understand before you respond, to learn before you act, to grow before you demand results. This is not weakness, this is mastery over the self. And self-mastery is the highest form of education you can ever receive. Every time you remain silent instead of reacting emotionally, your brain learns discipline. You train your mind to pause, to analyze, to see the bigger picture. Silence sharpens your intuition and strengthens your emotional intelligence because you are no longer wasting energy proving yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You begin to realize that not every opinion deserves your explanation, not every criticism deserves your defense, and not every argument deserves your voice. That realization alone changes the way you walk through life. Silence gives you dignity. It allows you to listen deeply, not just to others, but to yourself. In that quiet space, you start recognizing patterns, understanding your triggers, and correcting your own mistakes without public drama. This is how real confidence is built. Quietly, patiently, consistently. Loud confidence seeks validation. Silent confidence already knows its worth. When you embrace silence, you also become a better learner. You absorb lessons faster because your ego is not interrupting your growth. You see that silence is not emptiness. It is preparation. It is the ground where resilience is formed, where clarity develops, where inner strength takes shape, where you stop reacting to life and start responding with purpose, calm, and unshakable self-belief. You exhaust yourself when you try to force life to move at your speed, when you pressure outcomes, chase timelines, and panic when things don't happen immediately. But growth was never designed to be rushed. Real progress unfolds naturally when effort meets patience. When you keep showing up, learning, practicing, and improving without obsessing over results, something powerful happens inside you. You stop living in desperation and start living in preparation. This is where education becomes real, when you understand that results are a consequence, not a command. Forcing outcomes comes from fear. Fear of being left behind, fear of not being enough, fear of wasting time. But fear clouds judgment and weakens consistency. When you trust the process, you build stability. You learn to focus on what you can control and release what you cannot. You don't quit just because the reward is delayed, and you don't doubt yourself just because the world is silent. You keep going because growth is happening even when you cannot see it yet. Look at any meaningful success and you will find seasons of invisibility behind it. Long hours of effort with no applause. Countless lessons learned quietly. Skills sharpened slowly. This is how strength is built. When you stop forcing results, you start allowing alignment. Opportunities meet you when you are ready for them, not when you are impatient for them. Education teaches this truth again and again. Mastery takes time, and time rewards consistency, not urgency. When you trust the process, your mind becomes calmer, and your actions become sharper. You stop jumping from one thing to another, searching for instant results, and start committing fully to what matters. This commitment compounds. Day by day, you become more capable, more confident, more prepared. And then one day, what you were chasing arrives naturally, quietly, almost effortlessly. Not because you rushed life, but because you respected its timing and stayed faithful to your growth without forcing the destination. Patience is not passive waiting, it is active mental training. And every time you choose patience, you are educating your mind to become stronger than your impulses. When life delays answers, when results take longer than expected, when nothing seems to move, that is the classroom. That is where the mind either panics or matures. If you stay patient, your brain learns endurance. It learns how to sit with discomfort without collapsing, how to stay focused without reassurance, how to keep faith without evidence. This is how inner stability is built. Impatience makes you reactive. It pushes you to make rushed decisions, to quit too early, to accept shortcuts that cost you later. Patience does the opposite. It slows your thinking just enough to let wisdom enter. You begin to understand that not everything is meant to happen now, and not every delay is a denial. Sometimes delay is protection, sometimes it is preparation, sometimes it is life strengthening you so you can handle what you asked for. When you accept this, frustration loses its power over you. Patience also teaches emotional control. When you don't get immediate results, emotions rise. Anxiety, doubt, anger. Patience teaches you how to sit with those emotions without letting them control your actions. You learn to breathe through uncertainty, to stay grounded when the future feels unclear. This emotional discipline becomes a lifelong skill. It helps you in relationships, in learning, in leadership, in every challenge that demands calm under pressure. With patience, your perspective widens. You stop judging your life by short moments and start seeing long-term patterns. You recognize growth even when progress is slow. You understand that meaningful change takes repetition, failure, correction, and time. Patience trains your mind to trust effort over outcome, consistency over excitement, and purpose over pressure, shaping you into someone who does not break when things take time, but becomes stronger because they do. When you learn to be silent, you don't lose your voice, you refine it. Silence sharpens your ability to listen, and listening is the foundation of true intelligence. Most people listen to reply, not to understand, but silence teaches you to pause, absorb, and read between the lines. In that pause, learning accelerates. You begin to notice tone, emotion, intention, and meaning, not just words. This awareness turns you into someone who understands people deeply, not superficially. And that is a rare and powerful skill. Silence also educates your emotional intelligence. When you stop reacting immediately, you give your emotions space to settle. You recognize what you are feeling instead of being controlled by it. This is how maturity is built. You start responding thoughtfully instead of exploding impulsively. You understand that emotional strength is not about suppression, it is about regulation. Silence becomes a space where emotions are processed, not projected, and this ability protects your peace and your relationships. In learning environments and in life, silence improves comprehension. A quiet mind absorbs information faster and retains it longer. When you are not busy proving how much you know, you become open to discovering how much you don't know. This humility fuels growth. You accept feedback without defensiveness and correction without shame. You begin to see mistakes as lessons rather than attacks. This mindset transforms failure into education. Silence also builds empathy. When you truly listen, you see struggles beyond behavior. You understand pain behind anger and fear behind resistance. This awareness makes you wiser in communication and kinder in judgment. People trust those who listen, and trust opens doors that force never can. By mastering silence, you develop clarity of thought, depth of understanding, and emotional balance, turning you into someone who learns faster, connects deeper, and navigates life with calm intelligence, instead of noise-driven reactions. Inner peace is not a luxury you earn after success. It is the foundation you must build before success can last. When your mind is calm, your decisions become clear, and clarity is power. A restless mind chases everything and completes nothing, but a peaceful mind knows where to place its energy. This is why inner peace is not escape, it is strategy. It allows you to move through pressure without losing yourself and through challenges without breaking your values. Without inner peace, success becomes heavy. Achievements feel empty, relationships feel strained, and progress feels exhausting. You may reach goals, but you arrive tired, anxious, and disconnected. Inner peace protects you from that outcome. It anchors you when praise inflates ego and when criticism tries to destroy confidence. You learn to stay centered whether life is loud or silent, fast or slow. This emotional stability becomes your greatest advantage. Inner peace also sharpens focus. When your thoughts are not scattered by fear, comparison, or constant self-doubt, your energy concentrates naturally. You work better, learn faster, and recover quicker from setbacks. You stop wasting mental strength on things you cannot control and invest it into growth, discipline, and purpose. This is how sustainable success is built, not by intensity alone, but by balance. Peace does not mean life stops challenging you. It means challenges stop controlling you. You feel emotions fully, but you are not ruled by them. You face problems with calm logic instead of panic. You understand that your worth is not defined by outcomes, timelines, or opinions. This understanding creates quiet confidence. From that place, you take risks without desperation and pursue goals without fear. When inner peace leads, success follows naturally, stays longer, and feels lighter, because it is built on alignment, self-respect, and emotional strength, rather than chaos, pressure, and constant inner conflict. Self-reflection begins the moment you allow yourself to sit quietly without distraction, without performance, without pretending. In silence, there is nowhere to hide, and that is where truth lives. When the noise fades, you start hearing your own thoughts clearly, not the ones shaped by expectations, pressure, or comparison, but the honest ones. This is education at its deepest level, learning who you are, why you react the way you do, and what patterns keep repeating in your life. Silence turns your attention inward and forces awareness, and awareness is the first step toward wisdom. In silence, you start connecting cause and effect. You recognize how certain habits lead to certain outcomes, how certain decisions created certain pain, and how certain fears have been silently running your life. This realization is powerful because it gives you responsibility instead of excuses. You stop blaming circumstances and start correcting behavior. You see clearly what needs to change, what needs to heal, and what needs to be strengthened. That clarity does not come from advice alone, it comes from reflection. Self-reflection in silence also sharpens judgment. When you understand yourself, you make better choices. You stop repeating mistakes just because they feel familiar. You become more intentional with your time, your energy, and your relationships. Silence gives you the space to think before committing, to evaluate before reacting, to choose growth over comfort. This is how wisdom develops, slowly, honestly, without shortcuts. Through reflection, silence also builds alignment. Your actions begin to match your values. You stop saying yes to things that drain you and stop chasing paths that do not belong to you. You learn when to walk away, when to stay patient, and when to take action. In that quiet understanding, you don't need constant guidance from the outside because your inner compass becomes stronger, clearer, and more reliable, guiding you with calm certainty, deep self-awareness, and a grounded sense of purpose.